create a life-size Jesus and the Devil statue for a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
And it's portable. It's not that heavy as we thought.
And in my bedroom.
And in your bedroom right now. That's kind of creepy. This is going to be called the Nobody Gets It podcast. And in the first few episodes will be people that have helped Nobody Gets It build to what it is today after 3 years. And obviously I need to have people on that have helped build us. So today got one of our artists, Aerosol Jesus.
That's the project.
I'm excited to fucking do this. And I'm going to curse when I want to curse.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we've done this like 3 or 4 times.
We've done this so many times. It's actually ridiculous. We have done this maybe 3 times.
3 times, one with David and Colin and Wade, or not Colin, and then one just ourselves just talking.
Yeah.
But I think we've learned that like this
and we've just come in here sometimes and just sat here and just talk to each other like this because it's way more fun.
It is way more fun when you hear yourself talking through this.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, fucking let's get into it. And kind of, I think the theme is going to be, as we were built, nobody gets it.
Yeah.
It's, it's kind of our motto in this industry that no one really understands what they're doing with music marketing and videos and stuff. As we've been through this last decade, it's always adapting. It's always changing. Kind of that's why the theme we came with, nobody gets it. People really resonate to that brand name. And I think that's why this is going to be called Nobody Gets It podcast. And the theme is going to be, what is it that nobody gets about blank? And today, obviously, sing with you. It is, what is it that nobody gets about Aerosol Jesus? And I think you can answer that here soon. But I also just want to kind of get a little origin about who you are, where you come from, and how where we're at today.
Do you want me to start where, like...
Yeah, say where you're from. No. Just where you've grown up, and yeah. Just where
I grew up in Texas in the middle of nowhere, like 2,500 people, surrounded by barren land in every direction. And so I grew up there. I've got 7 siblings, and went to Notre Dame for college, graduated, and then moved out here. And studied film at Notre Dame, started screwing around with music halfway through, and came out to LA with, expecting that, and I think rightfully assuming that nobody was going to give, a 21-year-old a huge budget to make a feature film. I was like, okay, what's fun about music is I can do this all myself for very low cost, and I love music. I've always loved music, so I think, and then proceeded to just sit there alone for a very long time in a dark room, kind of driving myself insane, working on this new album that's going to come out, and then met up with you guys.
How do we meet again?
Lucas, my buddy Dan Rosenwald knows Lucas Tomzow, and I'd asked him, Lucas, because Lucas had met me a long time ago, and we were buddies. But I told him, I was like, I need a manager because I don't know what I'm doing. That was always the plan, really. Was like make an album, hopefully it's good enough, like build it, and they will come and just show it to somebody and be like, "Can you help me with this?" And that's literally what happened. It was just like I asked Lucas, and then COVID hit. Everybody had nothing to do, and Lucas called me when I was driving with an above-ground pool that I'd gotten on the east side of LA back to my house in Venice. He called me. He's like, "There's this guy, Wade, that I actually really want you to talk to." He was the guy I wanted to set you up with, and he wants to talk to you.
How did Lucas and Wade meet? I don't even know if
I
knew that.
don't even know. Their backstory is elusive.
Yeah. I mean, Wade came in, and it was, he was just kind of in a weird place when he was like, this management stuff can take a toll on you. And, there's a lot you do for people that sometimes it can all of a sudden, like the snap of the finger, it can end.
Yeah.
And, I think when you are a label, there's way more invested in the art and the music. And even for me, that's where I was coming from when we wanted to start this, was that I was working super closely with like Machine Gun Kelly on stuff, and Quinn 92 on stuff, and Griffin, like all these really cool artists that I had opportunities to work with. And, it seemed like it was like we were so into it and creating their album aesthetic and their art. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, see you later, and don't talk for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like for a paycheck. It's labor. It's for a paycheck. And this is why we wanted to do this, was like we feel more invested in actually building with the music longer lasting than just like.
Well, there's
for
a
that
ton
time
of shit
period.
that goes into it. That's the thing that you don't
Yeah.
realize is like, you know, beyond just the making of the music, then it's like, okay, now we've got to play every single game alive to try to get this thing out there. Because the whole goal is just trying to get people to listen to stuff, and you have to do it in very unconventional ways anymore because it's not back in the SoundCloud days where it's like, okay, put it on a hype machine, and if it's dope, it'll get to the top of it, you know?
No, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's not totally true. I mean, there was definitely, you know, a lot of marketing and stuff that went on.
No, but that was definitely the
it
sauce.
was simpler.
Yeah.
It seemed.
Now it's,
I
I,
don't
mean,
know.
it's definitely like there can be music that can blow up any day on TikTok and stuff, and by one song, and the people are
Like
the
shit from the
A&Rs.
60s and stuff. You
Yeah,
know? Like
that stuff can circulate back around, and we've seen that, like where the Cranberries song, all of a sudden when that guy, you know, the guy's on the skateboard and he's drinking with the Cranberry stuff, and now that song by Dreams, Fleetwood Mac, is now making just as much money as they were back in whatever it came out, and that was special to us. That's where we're like, when we can invest in music, it's like kind of like real estate or property. It's like you never know when one of those songs can kind of blow up now, next year, 20 years from now, and we want to have that longevity to keep moving them and feel like we're a part of that.
Which, and there's a
thing.
precedent for that too, because I mean, you think of like what Tarantino was doing in the '90s and what Scorsese was even doing in a lot of his movies of like sync stuff. Because then you hear these songs and they're inextricably tied to these things, and you have like a deep affection for them, you know. And I think that that's like happening. It just shows that like music, if it's good, no matter when it was made, if it connects to people, like even if it's from the '60s or '70s or whatever, like people are like, holy shit, what is that? And it's like, I don't really care when stuff is made. I care, like, I love finding stuff that I'm like, this is my drug for the next month because I love this song.
And a lot of people don't realize that some of these songs, like I remember working with Sam Fisher, who had that big blow up song, This City, and we did like that. This was during COVID time, and we're doing a song. That song was blowing up on TikTok, and Ellen DeGeneres was like, I need this on my show, and we went and made like a cool like rooftop video with that song. But like he was telling me, he's like, I made this song in 2016, and it's like
I made Cozy in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, like these songs can be made so long ago, and even put out. Like I think you said, like whether he made it in 2016 or was out in 2016, it's like now in 2019, 2020, it was just catching fire in America and on TikTok, and made all his dream and his wife's dreams come true. And he was just telling me how, you know, the internet kind of became his A&R and like blew that up for him. But shout out Sam Fisher, that's my dude. And no, he's such a kind dude, and that was really cool. But he was someone that really showed like the longer, you know, some things don't happen overnight, and then it does, and all of a sudden, you know, you never expect what's going to come from.
I mean,
that
you know, all
success.
these painters back in like the 1600s and stuff who like basically died penniless, who are now considered, you know, these huge things where it's like you've got to be in it for, not for the immediate kind of fame and money and everything. It's like you're doing it because you can't help yourself but to do it.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about this because this does have correlation to your stuff. Like your stuff is not a thing that's happening overnight. It's something that all of us have now been working on for 3 years,
Long
and
time.
we're just starting to get the song out last year and the videos out for it now. You know, you're a savant. You're special. That, you know, these things do take time, and there is some beauty to that. On top of some, you know, hair pulling out of that. But
I'd say more hair pulling. But
yeah, we've done some shit.
Yeah. But I think at least when I met you guys, I remember coming over here very nervous. I remember running around in my yard shirtless as I was trying to find something to wear. I like literally, because I was like in Venice at the time, and I came over here and I didn't even know, like, again, I didn't see the kind of view from your place because I was just hyper focused. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But I do remember with Wade, I think, because I was talking to him predominantly at the beginning, I think he liked the music, but I think he was just looking at me, he's like, what the fuck do I do with you? Like, I don't know, like, what's the thing here? And I was like, I don't totally know either, man. But I think my thing, at least the thing that was when I was making the album, and it's kind of started to just be the thing for everything, was just like, I did it all myself. I think that's it. And I think it's like something that I've always really
Can you
liked.
elaborate doing it yourself? Like, are we talking just
Yeah,
for
I mean, I
our
just
people
didn't-
listening? You
I-
mixed it, you mastered it, you wrote it, like
Well,
all
so
the
the song-
define it.
Well, so like writing, production, recording, like all of that stuff is done alone. And then Andrew, my good buddy, Andrew D'Angelo, who's a complete fucking savant, mixes. And then I just kind of get the songs to where I'm like, okay, this is the mix master of it all, and then I send it off. But yeah, no, everything else is totally alone. And the problem and the reason it took so long is because I think I was just bad at music at the beginning of it, or it just took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around it. Film I already knew because I'd been doing that for a long time, and it's easier. It becomes easier to me. Whereas music is that, and I just didn't know anybody else who did it. So I was like, okay, if I got to put drums or if I got to put bass guitar or any of these things or singing, I don't know anybody else who'll do it. So I've just got to figure it out.
Where are you doing this at? Your bedroom? You got a studio?
Yeah, I mean, it was dorm room, but now I've got a studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you have a studio that we built in your house in the
Yes.
garage. Took a few months, but we constructed a completely soundproof studio.
Yeah, that took a lot of research.
But before that, you were in Santa Monica studio, right?
Yeah, I was bouncing around studios. I in my the first place I was living, I was in this basement, and I thought we were cool, but my next door neighbor ended up being a lawyer. I think he was going through a divorce or something at the time, but he basically threatened my landlord with to sue her because I was making noise. And I was like, I was like, listen, I'm out. I didn't mean to and I just kind of bailed out of there, and they let me sort of break the lease because I was like, I didn't realize that was a problem. So after that, I was like, I need to be in a soundproof studio.
Yeah.
I don't want to piss people off.
Yeah.
So people like music, they don't like it being made near them.
Yeah.
That's
well, your stuff
hard
fucking
fact.
slaps. The bass is booming.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, it's not classical music that you could get away with that easier. I think.
Yeah. Cozy's a song that we've been working out for a year.
Yeah.
And we had a really amazing guerrilla marketing strategy we should talk about too.
Yeah.
Because that was just unique, and that was something that all of us really, I think, and that's what made everything super awesome for us a year or so ago, is that, and that's something that we want to do at Nobody Gets It, is we don't want to do traditional marketing stuff. We want to do things that are disruptive and things that are guerrilla style, but highly disruptive and controversial. I mean, Wade comes from backgrounds of doing these kind of things on the internet for the last 10 years with Zoo and, Gallant. And that's what definitely we were trying to do a lot with your project, more than Queer Kings or anything else. We were like, okay, this is the one that we can really get kind of controversial with social media and stuff.
Well, and I think it's just doing stuff that's, to me, it's certainly pushing the, trying to toe the line and, get in people's faces. But also, I always want it to be geared positively in at least my own head, and have a message that I think is a positive one, while still kind of playing in those realms of, because I think that's what makes it meaningful. But at the same time, I think there's this, as I've gotten into it with you guys, the thing I've realized is that everything is marketing. Your songs are it just depends on what you look at it, and it's how you treat it. And if you treat our marketing strategy was making statues and making all this stuff, and it's well, is that really marketing? It's it works as marketing, I guess. It helps.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely went with a Banksy approach.
Yeah.
Let's call it what we were definitely looking at what,
which I've always loved that
Yeah.
stuff. I love street art. I think graffiti, if it's done well, or I mean, there's all these people Exit Through the Gift Shop is one of my favorite documentaries of all time. I love all of that stuff in that world, and just this trying to get people to think and putting it in front of their faces. And I think people appreciate that when it is thoughtful and cool. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Thought-provoking shit,
and go
I
from
suppose.
there. I mean, we made a statue. We did this whole statue thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where that kind of idea came from.
Yeah, well, it's just, again, I think, at least with my music, it's always trying to kind of toe the line between, or the dichotomy between the light and the dark and the good and the evil, and sort of trying to kind of find the line between them. And there's nothing, more good and evil than, or not even good and evil, but just that represents that, at least the different sides of everyone, is Jesus and the devil. I mean, even you think about those old cartoons, them popping up on the edges.
On your shoulder. Yeah.
So the idea of having them, and so, but also making it goofy, which I am, and, having them sort of smoking and drinking together. But I think the kind of idea, there's always sort of something that you're that's it, which is the Siamese twin piece of it, which is what we did. And then we put it up on Runyon, and took it down after a day. And
let's elaborate though on the Runyon move, because that was definitely something that we shouldn't just breeze over. Let's talk about how that strategy was.
we wanted to put it in a place that kind of, it just appeared, and didn't really have any kind of, just to, it's kind of like when you're driving down the street and you're like, are they doing construction there? Like, what's going on? And like having people stumble up on something and them overlooking the city, which, you know, especially, you know, this was what was this 2021 after COVID?
This is 2022.
Yeah.
Because it's April. We did this April 10th, 2022.
Yeah.
Which happened to be Palm Sunday,
yeah.
which honestly correlated perfect with this thing. Because like you just
we
said.
We didn't know it was Palm Sunday.
Right.
I didn't know that.
I'm Jewish. I don't know these things.
I mean, I was raised non-denominational, but
apparently it's a thing.
I think it's a Catholic thing.
Yeah.
I should know that going into.
We should have done on Easter the following week though when we found that out. We're like,
but that was Coachella, which we were like,
yeah, that would have been we can't mess with that news.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give some context. I mean, look, we made a statue. It was a life-size thing of Jesus and the devil having a beer, and you know, shout out to Mare, who was one of your, I guess, your day-to-day. No, she was more than day-to-day for you. She was huge, overall,
huge.
Let's call her jack of all trades, and nobody gets it. And we started trying to bring back. But yeah, she led the front, the mission on that. Create a life-size Jesus and the Devil statue for a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And it's portable. It's not that heavy as we thought.
And in my bedroom.
And in your bedroom right now. That's kind of creepy. That it just probably stares at you at night. I put a towel over
it. I don't mind looking at it. Again, I see it like they're laughing and shit.
They're laughing. They're hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool when it was sitting here in our garage for a minute and people were like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But they saw it on all that thing. So
it got on the news. Yeah, like that was the thing. Is like
wait, but before that, yeah, we fucking had a scheme. We were gonna drop this off at Runyon Canyon at the middle of the night, which you guys did. You and Wade and a few of us, but mainly you and Wade and David executed that plan. Dropped it off at Runyon. And in the morning, because Runyon Canyon's like the popular spot where Instagram models are going to hike and going to take photos or whatever, and it was going to be things.
And it was also tough to get it anywhere else. Like if you stick it up on, I don't know, like Will Rogers, like there's a bunch of places you could put it, but we needed to be able to get it there.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of where we just decided. And I liked it because it was overlooking the city, but it was interesting because we had to watch it. So we were just hanging around in the background, not like...
Yeah, were you worried someone was going to like fuck it up or steal it?
Extremely worried. And people were talking about stealing it and stuff like that.
What about the park rangers?
There wasn't anybody. I think...
No one came by?
Nobody came by. I think it was like... Yeah, and that's why we were standing by, because if somebody did come by, take this down and be like, all right, cool.
Because we didn't permit. We didn't want to do any kind of permitting.
Which we did on everything else. But we called them and I was like, do we need permits? They're like, if somebody comes by to tell you to take it down, it's fine.
So dropped it off at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
It said, there was a plaque that said your name in the song.
Cozy.
So people could make the connection there.
Yeah. What's the song title? Because they're like kind of hanging out.
Yeah, cozy, again, cozy together.
Yeah.
That was the drop. And then what really, I think, added fuel to the fire was the Karen video, the Karen woman that went up there and, you know, made a huge, you know, kind of fuss about this kind of art installation up there.
And that was the most interesting thing was kind of, again, we were hanging around in the background and you're hearing people talk about something when they don't know that you're, again, like you're kind of over by the trash can or something and they're kind of discussing what it means. And like that is... Getting raw reactions like that is super, super interesting to hear. Because some people didn't like it, but I think the majority of people were like either questioning it or they seemed to like it. And then, of course, once it gets on the internet, then it becomes like a whole other thing where you just sort of see comment sections become dumpster fires and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, but any bad press is good press.
I suppose.
You get people talking.
Yeah.
But the Karen video was super helpful to add fuel to the fire, and that eventually got on the meme pages and was able to... you know, get picked up and spread around like wildfire with this woman doing a selfie. And then this angry woman who's just like, I can't believe these kids who would do something like this. This goes against religion and Christianity and this and that. And that's exactly what we wanted to have happen. And because like I said,
there were a couple of those too. Yeah, that were. But the other ones didn't really get caught. But it was. But then it got on the news, which is I think what really kind of shot it in the stratosphere. Got on the local news channels and stuff.
Yeah, the news channels helped propel that.
Yeah.
Said your name, said the musical act, Aerosol Jesus. And then from all that, we were able to run with that kind of content, the news content, the Karen video.
Yeah.
I mean, this shit got on Today Years Old, Meat and Nugget. These are really popular meme pages with millions of account followings.
Yeah.
And that was the marketing strategy behind it. We had a physical marketing plan, guerrilla style, very disruptive, controversial. Drop it off at the top of a place that, you know, was somewhere that people would see it, get the kind of, almost negativity like reactions to it, but really adding fuel to that negativity and blowing it up. Like we wanted the Christian groups to see this and get pissed off, because again, that's just ways where if you can withstand having, some negative light for a minute, it doesn't always be like negative light, but just like something to have people talking.
Well, I think
you're going to get there.
Again, you just know that there's always going to be people who don't really see, they see the surface level. They don't see like what's going on underneath. And I think people play around. I love playing around with that. Like even in songs where it's like happy song, but really if you listen to the lyrics, it's kind of like darker or the opposite. And I feel like what that piece was trying to say was lost on some people. And we knew how it would be lost on people, which is sort of, again, like that's where you're sort of like, okay, that's marketing. But then again, everything, to me, it's just more like what can create a conversation. And I think that it did that. It kind of has everything that we've ever done. It just has to pass the smell test of like, that one, is it dope or not?
That one succeeded awesomely.
Yeah.
So moment 2, we can go into moment 2 now. So Cozy, that's out. Now we're doing the song called Limbo.
And let's just talk about like this whole thing. All of this stuff that we did was incredibly fucking hard to do. And like, I mean, just all of us staying up multiple nights. I mean, for this next thing, when we were all out there building mannequins and like melting them down with like, I mean, it was fucking chaos.
Context. Let's give context before we go into it.
Yeah. Well, we made this second thing, which was these mannequins that were going through this portal, looking into their phones, and then they come out being all bent and twisted, taking selfies essentially. And on the front of it says, "How low can you go?" Because the song was called Limbo. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's, talking about the internet, how it kind of changes you, how it sort of like warps you.
Yeah.
But it was a 48-foot mobile stage with this 9-foot diamond that's in my backyard right now with these mannequins that were just a disaster to do, where we're wearing like all sorts of masks.
I've never seen so many mannequins get sent to our house. I mean, we probably had a dozen mannequins.
I think we had 48 mannequins because we had. I'm not kidding. Because
48 full body mannequins.
Yeah, because some of them we had to like use. I mean, they were backups that we sent back, but like.
And this is the thing, like you didn't just want normal mannequins. This is what makes you as a crazy artist, filmmaker, visionary, whatever it is. But yeah, they weren't just like he said. It was supposed to be looking at like a portal, like which was this 9-foot diamond, which eventually was like his, kind of his branding thing that we're going with Aerosol Jesus, this red diamond. But yeah, 4 or 5 entering the portal normal, 4 or 5 out of the other side, looking all distorted. So like going with what he's about to say is we had to distort the body parts of mannequins to make this look all effed up.
Which plastic is way harder than you would ever expect to have to bend.
Yeah.
Like when it's like already doing its thing and you have to heat it up and then bend it. And I mean, it's this whole, it was, I mean.
But we're bending arms, we're bending legs like in the weirdest places with these metal guns. Like we're holding these like plastic, like, and we also have the proper like, face mask because this shit was getting us high.
Yeah.
Or like getting us feeling weird.
Yeah. When we had like full on like, the spray paint mask, like the whole 9 yards, because there's very toxic fumes that come out of like heating up plastic. You're not supposed to do it essentially.
Yeah, learn that.
But we were good. I just remember David at the beginning it being like, I don't do stuff. I not like he's like I'm the marketing guy. I don't like because I'm always worried I'm gonna break.
Labor.
I'm always worried I'm gonna break something. It's like literally by the end, I mean he's just like in there with spray paint cans, like just cut and it was just so funny to see.
Yeah, he
everybody.
transitioned.
I mean, it was like a workforce of like 8 of us, and like that is none of you guys' like quote unquote job, nor is it mine. And it just became this thing of like, okay, if we're gonna pull this off, like this is what has to happen.
Yeah, you have some addictive like energy around it that when we saw all them in our garage and kind of you did your prep to it, designs, like you had it on how it's supposed to look. And we, you had a girl named Liz who was our project manager for months.
Liz was always incredibly helpful.
Liz was awesome, helpful, helping us with all this stuff,
Yeah.
keeping us like on top of things.
Yeah, neck to neck
so
with
yeah,
me on all of it.
you, Liz, myself, Colin, Wade, Flynn. If I'm missing anyone else, Lucas, Jacob,
Lucas
whoever else might have
yeah.
been helping. But yeah, you wanted to distort these body parts with a heat gun, which there's got to be better ways to do doing this now that I'm looking at. Like we probably could have got like
flexible
bendable
mannequins that I didn't tell anybody about, but it wasn't the look.
Fuck
yeah, I know.
God damn it.
It really, I mean, everybody needed about
It
a
wasn't the
week
look.
off.
It's how you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were melting plastic to do distortion
Nothing great comes
things.
easy.
Yeah.
So.
And then the next thing was where are we dropping this? Because we had a great Runyon Canyon, nailed down the dot. We're like, okay, where do we put this? 50-foot kind of art exhibit like out somewhere where people are going to see. Because like we said, it's like 4 or 5 entering a portal, 4 or 5 out there distorted. We had a big runway that we wanted to build. We wanted other kind of like fixtures with like social media things. You had like a Mark Zuckerberg head, you had like an Elon Musk head, like things we ordered off the internet as like this like Greek god like bust kind of thing. And we were trying to figure out like where to drop this, right? And we were trying to figure out like, is it Melrose? Is it Rodeo Boulevard? And we obviously landed on, because I have a connection to Aviator Nation with Reed and a family and just all these friends, and when I used to work there, we were like, this is a pretty hopping spot in Abbot Kinney in Venice. And we were,
because you want people to see it, and all these things are only up for a day.
Yeah, but to go back to that, so yeah, Limbo, we drop it on the street. It was disruptive. It was something that got people's attention. It was in the alleyway by Aviator Nation on Abbot Kinney, not like blocking the road, because we did permit this time. We didn't want to.
Oh, we absolutely had to.
We did permit this time. We did do the legal things, but probably did pretty secretive on what we gave out information wise. And we built that on Memorial Day weekend because we thought that was a pop in time where people in Abbot Kinney are a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
Right. And
that was Memorial Day.
Yeah, that was about a year ago.
Like dead on, almost to now.
And then obviously we were super calculated on how we wanted our social media grids and posts to be. Mm-hmm. And I think with that, you spent, I'll get into the Cozy music video in a second, but the Limbo music video, if we want to call it that, you did this really cool social disruptive, like brainwash. Yeah, that's the word.
Brainwash that was a think tank idea. In the
a brainwash video.
Tub.
And what it was you did literally every single frame by, I mean, you can talk about it. I don't even want to give the context. You should talk about this.
I had this. Yeah. I mean, this is like, what that was me venting my frustration with the internet, which is just basically, I don't use social media much. And when I look at it, I feel this like overwhelming, everything's moving so fast. And my takeaway from that usually is, because it's moving so fast, nothing means anything, because there's no time to really like sit there and think about the kind of aftermath, consequences, anything of like a certain event that happens. And what I wanted to do was make a video that wasn't like, it was just kind of highlighting a lot of that stuff, but the point wasn't like every frame. The point was, do you feel this too? Because this is what I feel. And I feel like it's dividing us, and I feel like it's fucking up our brains. And which, again, cue every internet comment boomer, all these like different things. But to me, it's just like, I think that the internet is the best and worst thing, and it all just depends on how we use it. And because like, that's the thing, is like, people, it's just people, and it's like, you're like, I don't know. I think there's just something to it that just freaks me out. And I loved that video seemed to, I don't know, because I started making it and you guys are like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I kept saying, I was like, I'm going to land the plane. I promise. Like, I know where, I just got to find it. And because I was just like pulling stock photos and like just all this shit. And but I still love that video, because of course at the end of it.
Yeah, it was super creative. I mean, like you said, like there's things on social media that when people post, like,
it was even commenting on what we did with the statue and stuff, like on ourselves. In a way, it was like, and I love the caption, like, save, and subscribe, because it's like, hence my self-loathing. Like the fact that this is like the game that I'm being forced to play. Like, in a perfect world, it's like, I just want to make stuff. That's all I want to do. But again, that's, I think you guys come like, getting on board with, me. And me kind of like, we kind of met in the middle where it's like, all right, I'm down to play the game, but like, let's play it in a way more kind of heady level and make all this shit interesting. Because like, otherwise, what the fuck, you're wasting your fucking time,
What was some of the videos context that you put in that Limbo, like music video, let's call it?
Oh, I mean, it just zooms all over the world. It's just sort of like, it starts with like the photos and then it goes into kind of like all the trends and like the ads thing, where like I took the biggest 50 TikTok people. It happens. All this happens so fast, but it's like, it shows a video by them and it like flips to ad, and it's all the different ones. Every single person with their product placement. And I had to go through all of their TikToks to find this stuff. I'd never looked at TikTok before that. And then it goes over to Russia and like all that like hacking stuff. I mean, it's just like, but the point is just like, it's moving. And what the hell does any of this mean?
Well, it has replay value.
Yeah, well,
you want people to replay it a few times and catch something that they might not have caught the first time.
Well, true, and again, I think it's like, because it leans into like conspiracy theory stuff, like all this. But the point isn't the individual things. The point is like, this is madness.
Yeah,
and we've got to figure out how to wrangle this shit.
Yeah,
into
something. The whole theme for the Limbo push on the Moment 2, the song push number 2. Was, like you said, how low can you go?
Yeah.
It was tying into like, things that, it kind of correlated to social media and the little bit of dopamine you get when something blows up on a TikTok or the Instagram reels, and you're like, and it might change you or start changing your perception.
It happens to everyone.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. But your theme for that marketing push we had behind it was how low can you go? It's almost like how low, like you can kind of correlate to like, how far do you go to do a thing for social media for views or for dopamine, that little bit of dopamine?
And that's where Brainwash really started talking about, like just the fact that like Instagram is geared against you. I mean, you're the product, and like they're I don't know, just all that stuff. The thing I liked the most about it, especially after the statue, was like, let's turn the gun on ourselves too, and just sort of like talk about that, because I love it when people do that, when it's like. Yeah, like, I mean, Trey Park and Matt Stone and South Park have done it multiple times where it's like, are we the problem? And it's like, I don't know. Like, it's like, I think, but that's where, like, if we were going to play the game, I'm like, and I think that's why we try to work so hard on all these ideas. It's like, let's at least make sure there's a there to this, even if it's controversial, like, whatever you want to say about it, that there is, like, if you look deep enough, or just kind of like, if it speaks to you, you can maybe pull something from it, which is the whole fucking point of art.
Yeah.
So.
South Park, that's a good comparison.
I love those guys. I think they're I think they're geniuses.
They're freaking awesome.
Satire.
Basketball is one of the best movies. I would play that all day.
Yeah.
But that's a cool thing that you just compared South Park, because what South Park does to current events and stuff, and like kind of taking those little jabs, that's definitely what your aesthetic, Aerosol Jesus, the brand, is trying to do too. Yeah. It's taking these little like subtle jab shots at society, at religion.
But the fun thing doing it with you is like, while it is me that does all the music and stuff like that, like you guys, Colin, David, or David and Wade, and Liz and Mare and all these other people, Lucas, it's like quickly became like, I mean, just it's kind of like going to war in a weird way, and like you guys were all totally rose to the occasion, and everything I ever wanted in terms of like people to help me. And in a way, like, extremely important pieces of the project, if not, like, again, I don't have a band. I see it as a band or a project or whatever, but I don't have a band. But, like, you guys were basically that, where it's like, it was all, like, best ideas win.
Aerosol Jesus and the Shadow Band.
Exactly.
You like that?
So, but it was fun
seeing
you guys really get creative with it. And that's what I love about it, is like having people who are like down to fuck around and down to clown and down to try to do things that most people aren't doing. And I think you guys do that in spades, and are willing to be like, with crazy fucking ideas, be like, all right, let's see how this goes. And it's like we're here for it. And I think that's continued and will continue as the next thing is going to be.
Yeah.
Nuts after.
Well, we're going to figure out what the next thing is, but let's talk about the Cozy music video, because we haven't touched on that yet.
Jesus Christ. That's a whole saga.
Well, we don't need to go crazy with it, but I think it's super special because it just came out pretty recently. I mean, I don't know when this podcast comes out, but it came out in May, and let's talk about it. Like, you spent a long time.
When did we meet?
We met, me and you? Or Wade and Nobody Gets It and all of us.
I met you guys.
We met over FaceTime probably like July or June,
so that was before. Okay, yeah. So I had basically, Cozy was supposed to be the first single. Really, COVID, before I met you guys, my plan was to start playing out live. Mm-hmm. COVID fucked all that up. Mm-hmm. The album was pretty close, and I was going to start doing a lot of live shows. COVID killed that. I met Wade. We started talking about the album release and everything like that. He's like, well, we're going to need a music video. I was like, film guy, I got
Yeah.
you. Give me a month. And my little brother had this idea, that pitched this idea to me about the spaceman kind of getting spun up in the spider web at the end of it. And it was loose at the time. He had this idea because I love sci-fi and he does too. And he pitched me this idea of doing it in the jungle. And so I hit up my buddy from film school, Zach Ostapchenko, who we had done this kind of crazy haunted house thing together in college over like 3 weeks, which we were not supposed to do at the time for this project. It was like overkill, but I'm still really proud of that. And yeah, and like kind of on location, we realized that we didn't have enough time because we had the spaceman costume and I'd built all this stuff, like this diamond that was floating and like all this stuff. And basically we ended up spending 4 months out on location, the two of us shooting all over.
What were the locations?
We went to Washington. We went to Southern California, Northern California, Utah, Colorado.
I mean, context was
and a
this
variety of other
astronaut
places.
traveling to different, like,
different
environments, different planets.
Well, and it's and the key thing to remember is it's COVID. So like, there's no planes. I mean, this was August, so it was like after like the initial lockdown, and Zach and I were taking COVID very seriously. I mean, it was like, okay, like we can't, like we got to be careful about the hotel rooms because it was still early. Like we didn't totally know. I mean, it was okay and kosher to be moving around, but not like you can't have a huge crew. You can't do all this stuff, and you got nothing, and we don't know when this is going to end and all this stuff. So it was a perfect time to go do some crazy shit like that. Mm-hmm. But the point is like, okay, how do we have this guy who's planet hopping, obsessed with these glowing gems, that then lands in the jungle and kind of gets lured into something, and kind of gets lured away into sort of like towards his demise. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the key with other planets is like it can't look like it was touched by humans. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, snow. And we didn't want it there to be like vegetation either. It needed to look like barren. And so it's like, so we just sort of kind of worked backwards from there, which is like, you think dunes, you think desert, you think snow, jungle kind of worked because the jungle was supposed to be a different environment. And then like black sand beaches and all this stuff. I mean, the snow was difficult because that means you got to get above the tree line, which means you're about at 14,000 feet, which is super fucking difficult to find without going to other countries. Because remember, Canada was closed, like all these like different things. Yeah.
Would you say that was the most challenging one of the settings?
The dunes were.
The dunes?
Because it was like 100-degree heat, and I mean there's like so many I could drone on about. I mean, it was like me the first day out there. I mean, I ended up having to wear this. It's what mascots wear. They have these ice vests underneath the suit because the first day I climbed up this dune and I came back down and my vision started to close and I was starting to black out because this suit was hermetically sealed. This like Russian chemical suit from the 80s. And it was like 100 degrees and I came down. And so Zach like starts like dumping ice on me. And I just get in the car and I just remember I remember blasting the AC, but I just remember my vision going like this. And I'm like, fuck me. I'm like, come on, stop doing that. Stop doing that. And again, I was overheating, but like, and so after that we kind of managed it, but it was just, the whole thing was hell. It was just like, we've got to like go out every day, drive an hour, unload the equipment for every single shot, put on this suit. You're out there, you're sweating, you're dying, you're dumping sweat out of your boots afterwards. You load back up, go to a new spot. You're driving through the dunes. We almost flipped the car. We got stuck a few times. I'd known how to get us out of that. The craziest one was like when when a light fell on my car up in the jungle and I had to drive to Seattle without a window for 4 hours after sawing it out.
The windshield window?
Sorry, yeah, my bad. The windshield window.
You didn't have a windshield for 4 hours driving?
Yeah, dodging bugs with goggles on. You have to drive with goggles on. And then...
Oh my God. Actually, I do remember seeing a picture of you doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to flash the picture of it right now.
Yeah. Right here in this square. But yeah, and then like... I mean, it was just... I remember coming back and all my roommates saying like, it's like, you look like a ranch hand. I'm like, dude, all I've been doing is like, I mean, it was just Zach and I mean, Zach was a real, it's hard to not give him, I mean, just a shit ton of credit of just a trooper in terms of like trusting me and following me into really kind of the abyss. Cause it was like, I mean, we were hiking up really sketchy shit in the mountains. Like, I mean, and we were safe and very prepared, or as prepared as we could be. But like, there were times where it's like, you know, you got rangers telling you that, hey, there's a mountain lion spotted like half a mile from here. Just be careful while you're out in this inky black jungle. You're seeing bear tracks out on these beaches. You're like up on top of this mountain where you're like, which I'd skied enough where I was like, okay, it's not going to slide, I don't think, if I go out in this. But like, if it does, that's not great. And yeah, but like, you do what it's weird because you look back and it feels crazier, but like at the time you're just so hyper focused on like, I feel like this is like something with artists where they feel like they'll portray it like, or with directors and stuff, like there was this grand master plan. It's like there was a plan, but every day is just like, what do we have to do today?
Yeah.
And you're stitching it together and you're working it. But the good thing is once you get in the flow of it, then you're like, oh yeah, we're grizzled. We get what we're doing here. We remember what it is to make a movie. We remember how slow it is. We know what we can pull off. We know what we can't. And then we came back, did a bunch of shit here. We did this crazy warehouse thing, the stunt warehouse upside down that you helped tremendously with.
Yeah. Obviously, you needed to, when you want to do the whole, like you said, the whole.
There was shit that we had to do.
The astronaut goes up in like a spider web, like that
Yeah.
is requiring stuntman in the studio, and
Yeah, Eric.
that's where we had a crew. We had a crew. We brought in like some rocks and made a whole cave set.
Yeah, and Chase and Adam and all those guys. Everybody who worked on that was great and really kind of came to. And you guys, you did a great job helping me out with all that stuff, because that was like the things where it's like everything else was just sort of like, after that was backyard shit, but that was really like, okay, I'm gonna be hanging upside down 12 feet without any kind of thing below me, and if I fall I break my neck and probably die. It's like, okay.
No, yeah, there's a lot of safety measures I want to make sure to do it right, because it's funny because it kind of goes into production. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about in this podcast is like the inner workings and what goes behind the scenes, but like that little thing of using that clip probably for like 5 to 10 seconds in, it was pivotal, but it was something you had to do a few times and make sure you didn't break your neck, and we had the proper support in the shot right, and like that took hours on. We went into overtime because of that, but
yeah, it was the end of the day too, and like we didn't have time to sit there and show me a monitor. It was like we just did it a couple times, and I was like, all right, we're gonna see what it looks like. Like I didn't know because I was blindfolded upside down, all the blood to my head, singing. Like, I mean, it was an intense day, especially after like, really kind of having a lot of time out on location to be like, okay, we fucked up today, but we can do it tomorrow. It's like, there's no tomorrow. Like,
yeah, there's no tomorrow when you have all those people there for you in the location and in the props. Like, it just goes into our whole production life of just like, you have these allocated window of time with these people and other things, and you need to make your day and make it happen. And fortunately we did that for you, but yeah, that little part, it took a village still to do. Yeah,
and it always does. And I think but then it was the editing, and which I've done this, I think just because I've done it so much with music production, where it's like, I can't help myself. I have to be like, all right, well, there's supposed to be a spaceship in there. And I kind of understand fusion and Maya and all that stuff. Like, let me look at this. And then it just turned into like, okay, I've done so much VFX work now that I have to do the color because I can't detangle this. And like, I ended up just doing, like, Zach came up and helped me with the assembly, editing it, and we kind of got the structure. But then, that changed even still because we had to do all the bridge stuff. But yeah, I mean, post-production on that was, I don't even know.
It was
it's
a lot.
It's like a dark time for me to even think about.
Yeah,
I learned a ton.
Yeah, and good for you. I mean, dude, like I said, you're a savant. You're an anomaly. It's rare that so many artists, like, I don't know, many more people are like you, where they're gonna be doing like directing, shooting, editing, and mind you, like, we'll probably talk to other artists that I've directed with, like Oliver Tree and Melanie Martinez. These are cool directors that are artists that direct their own videos, but you directed, edited, colored, VFX. Like, I would even get you a visual effects team, which is awesome team, Thermonuclear. They're my guys.
Shout out to Shuri.
But then you're like, they would do the Amazing Spider, and you're like, actually, I want to do it my way. And no knock at them, but you're just like, that's how you are. That's how your mind works.
There's 5 shots in there that they did that are incredible that I couldn't track, and I was like, they saved my ass on those. But all of that was just because we did not have the money to like do that. Because it was all just personally fine, and I was like, I was like, every single shot I give to anybody else or the color or anything is money that I don't really have to do. Yeah. So it's like, if you want
this, it
was
a self-funded project, not like a label or a big client behind us.
Yeah, and it's like, if you want it, you better fucking figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And again, DaVinci Resolve, Fusion, all these software, and like shooting on what I did, like I knew a lot going in, but I learned a ton, and it's crazy what you can pull off as long as you kind of understand VFX work. But the thing I love about it, and the thing that I think is crucial for anybody doing stuff, is like there's no job too small that you don't need to understand. Like if you want to be a director, the whole damn thing is basically at a high level delegating jobs. And you better know how lights work. You better know editing. You better understand color. You better understand how to shoot VFX. You better understand, cameras and how they work, and like, even like different aspects of producing and acting and all this shit. You better know that stuff. And the only way to do that is to like go on, just be willing to do anything. And that's the thing I love, is because like when I meet people in every single field, like I can chop it up with the best of them. Not me like being like better than them. There's tons of people who are way better. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of a master of none, but I have such admiration and respect for them, and can talk enough of the lingo for them to be like, "How the fuck do you know about?" And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like you would get it more than me, but I understand the fundamentals of it and know what goes into how hard you have to work to make this piece of the puzzle work. And that's something I think that isn't talked about enough, is like you look at those film credits, it's like those people work their fucking asses off, every one of them, PAs all the way up.
Yeah, no, I was telling like our whole summer intern squad.
You work like a fucking maniac, man. Like,
thanks, man.
Most organized motherfucker I've ever met in my entire life. Like
appreciate it. Well, I try. I mean, dude, there's so much shit going on.
You've got to be.
You have to be organized. That's a big part that I'll talk about a lot more on this. But being a producer is really just being able to put out fires, keeping things organized.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Managing people, too.
You're managing people and morale. Like I've said to everyone, like, it's important about the music you play, the first thing you hear on set. And, if we can, like, I love to gift my crew, like, at the end of the night, like, hats or shirts. And I did that recently. And a teleprompter was like, I've never had a production company give me a hat before. And I'm like, well, here you go. And that person will work for you harder next time. Not that they didn't this time, but like they'll remember you. And sometimes we don't have all the money in the world, and you need to negotiate rates. And maybe in this project it's low, but the next time I'll get you back. All those things come in handy. But what I was telling, going back to it, like I was telling our new summer squad interns, like it's all about morale and treating people well. And it takes, going back to your point, I mean, like from PA to executive producer, it all matters on set. It's a team sport. There's so many credits in the end of things. Everyone takes their part. And we make sure at Dojo House nobody gets it, like everyone feels that way and respected that way. And I don't care about putting tables in a truck at the end of the night with my PAs.
I'm the first person to do it.
Yeah, we both do it. That's how we are, and that's just kind of like the kind of example you want to set to people or show people that
Well, there's just stuff that you learn in those jobs where you can't ever feel like anything's beneath you, like really and truly, because it's like understanding how to set up a tripod, or like it's like how do you sandbag a light, like all that shit. Like at some point, like somebody could get hurt if you don't know what you're doing.
Definitely.
And you're like, and so that's the fun part I think about hanging out with you guys, is I kind of showed up and you start talking about Steve Aoki and MGK and all these guys. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like I'm literally moved out here not knowing anybody. And I was like, you guys have made me step up my game. And I've just learned a lot just from being in the vicinity. And I think that's sometimes, and you just, again, I think just kind of hearing people talk about how to be and how to not, you just don't want to be a dick. That's the thing. I think that's why I love people who kind of like hit it later on, because they're just so happy to be there. When you talk to some people who people think are like assholes or whatnot, I'm like, when you go through the struggle to just get to the place, you're just so happy to be there that you're like, dude, why could you be mad right now? Like, you're doing the thing that you want to do. This is so much fun. And I love just meeting people who are doing crazy creative shit. Like, that's like the best. Even though I kind of work alone a lot of the time, like I'm excited to meet more people, and like the Kings and like all these fucking people who float around here who are like, I love those guys.
Yeah, obviously we're getting to the end of this, but no, it's great what we touched on production. It takes a village. Your thing takes a village. It took obviously your friend also to like go with you everywhere.
Again, shout out to Zach. Shout out to Robert for the idea.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was incredible. We're marketing that music video. We're going to try to get that some awards. It deserves it.
Well, and I think it's, you always go out, you got to leave everything on the field. Like that's, and I'm trying to get, and it's something that we talk about all the time, which is like, how do you get fast and keep the quality And to me, it was a fun process to just go through the whole thing. And it was a story I believed in, and it's a visual story, which is sometimes people don't always like make that connection where you're like, okay, yeah, like you got to kind of like read into it. But I think all that's incredibly important because it's like show, don't tell. And the things that I always enjoy is like things that have a physicality to them, even with the statue and all that stuff. And like going out there and like suffering through it is reminiscent of a lot of the films and filmmakers I love, of like Apocalypse Now or The Thing, or like where they were up there freezing their asses off or like dying in the jungle and like not actually dying. I don't think anybody died on Apocalypse Now, but when they're really doing it, there's that Top Gun Maverick. There's that feeling of like, holy shit, like what the fuck is this? And I wanted to do something that had that kind of sweeping, this like it's not doing it just for the visual sake, but it's because the story demands it, and following that to its like very final conclusion. But I'm happy. I'm proud of it. I still see stuff in there that I'm like, God damn it,
no, it's done. It's out there now. You're done. My two things I need to get through in this, but it is obviously the theme is nobody gets a podcast, and what I'm keeping theme is what is it that nobody gets about blank. So give me, what is it that nobody gets about Aerosol Jesus? As you take that hit, think about it. Inhale, and exhale.
I really got to think about this a little bit better. What does nobody get about it?
What does nobody get about Aerosol Jesus? Yep, second hit, that'll do it. That'll definitely get it.
That I vape. I think that like that I'm a goofy motherfucker. I mean, I think that's probably what they don't know. Let's be honest, this is the first time that I've spoken at all. Nobody knows anything about me, really. Nobody even, until they listen to this, nobody gets it at all, at least who I am. And I think I'm excited about that, of just being able to kind of lean into that. And I think the thing they probably don't get,
I mean, it's like, I would say it's work ethic. It's the work ethic. It's the attention to detail.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the attention to detail. It's like, everyone can say that, artists, and they're not wrong, but you especially, like, the attention to detail is what nobody gets, is how calculated every little thing about this brand push is. And yeah, it all has a thread. It all has like a meaning behind it. I would just say that nobody gets that.
Yeah,
there's so much attention to detail on every
I would
little
agree.
thing.
I think, yeah, nobody gets, yeah. I hope the thing that they do get now that I'm saying nobody gets is, again, the attention to detail. And again,
it's what do we always say? There's the devil.
Yeah, devil's in the details. I was like God's in the details, but or what is it? Yeah, devil's in the details. We've argued about this in the past, and yeah, but I think it's just like, I think that all the little things, all the little blemishes are what people actually are attracted to, because it's the imperfections. It's all those kind of, either like think about, like you think back to Star Wars, which I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but like think about to like what do people. It's those pieces of dirt. It's all those little pieces of texture, which I do in my songs, of all these little sounds and everything like that, of like trying to set an atmosphere, whether it be the jungle or space or all those things. That shit matters. And that's what will make things stand apart and give that re-listenability, where people are always hearing something that they hadn't heard or seeing something they hadn't seen. And I think you can't be afraid to really push it. Because I think the thing that I always hear a lot from people is this idea of fast is better. And I think that there's a strength in that, but I think also you can't be afraid to put in the work if it's necessary to get it to a place that really scares the shit out of people. I love that. That's the whole that's the whole raison d'etre of this, is like, the next thing is going to be better, and it should scare the living fuck out of people. Not in like a scary way, but just be like, it should just fuck with their heads. And
I mean, that's going to lead to my next question. What is the next thing?
An inanimate objects moving around talking to each other. That's what we're working. This is one thing. But no, the one music video that we've been talking about, Mexico, is like that's a head fucker in itself. And like, I just want to do stuff that is exciting for me. And I think you, as artists, if anybody's out there listening, it's okay to, you realize that. I think the thing that whenever I talk to anybody, and the funniest piece of it is like, you hear people talk about, I'm trying to even figure out the best way to put it, which is just like, everything's derivative in a way. Like and just because people tell you it's like, oh yeah, this was like totally my thing. Like I just wake up in the morning and piss excellence. Like that's not the case. For every idea I have, there's 99 of them that are terrible. And it's just really coming to like terms with yourself as a person and being able to make things that, or kind of differentiate the good from the bad. And once you get good enough at doing that, which is a hard road to get there for all of us, I think, then you can just like judge it from a third party perspective. And then you kind of just lean in this thing of like, I just want to do stuff that I love doing. And I just want to make stuff that's fun and like that has a meaning and a story and all this stuff. And I think if you follow that, whatever else, the other bullshit that you end up having to do, like, you'll be fine. That's what I would say. And I wish I knew that earlier, because I think a lot of the times you're trying to emulate, you're trying to you're picking things apart that don't need to be there. But when it really is, it's like music is about feeling stuff. Movies is about feeling things. So if you're communicating that, it'll be fine. But yeah, that's a really long, not really answering your question answer, but...
What? The nobody gets it one? Or what's next?
I suppose.
Wait,
what? Yeah, what's next? Oh, yeah, and then we got songs coming out. Boom. Nail it. This is the part where I plug, right?
Yeah, plug the song.
Plug, Swim Deep, coming out
June 26th, if this is after or before it.
Yeah, if it wasn't June 26th, then that was obviously planned. And
dude, we're not moving down. We're not moving this
No, it is.
This is like the theme. Oh my God.
Yeah, moving deadlines.
No, but June 26th, whether this podcast comes out before it or after, that's the next song. We have great marketing strategies. Thing we have on this one is we got 10 amazing interns with us this summer. They're going to help us push this as well, because their creative minds are just as powerful as ours, if not more.
Killers, every single one of them.
But I mean, I'm happy we're doing this.
No, dude, it's fun that we've again done this for the third time. I think this was the best one.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think this was as long. We've done this for like 3 hours before. I think this was like exactly the length.
Right length. Yeah. And I'm honestly excited to listen to you interview all these other cool people. Who
you'll be back on. I don't want to make it a one-time thing. I want it to like people come back on when we can.
Dude. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I mean,
I'll talk to your assistant out there about your schedule.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's a lot of shit going on, and it's not like I live 5 minutes away and I'm here all the time. So you're gonna have to, compete with the best of them at this point to get me in here. But no, it's fun talking to you. I love you and love all the guys here and everybody else that's been along for the ride, because we've known each other for 3 fucking years, which is absolutely bananas at this point.
Yeah.
Because, you guys are awesome. And obviously, there's a gun being held up to me off camera, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. No, back at you, man. You're a unique person. Our management, our label would not be the same without you. And I'm glad that you're one of the guinea pigs on the first few episodes of this podcast.
That's exactly what I want to be.
Yeah, and you'll be back on.
And a guy to just help, just in case the microphone's fucked up.
You're helping behind the scenes.
Let's
all
be
the
honest.
time.
That's the end that I had. I was like, listen, things start to fuck up. I'm a guy, man.
I know.
Yeah. So no, it's gonna be great. I'm excited that you're getting this going, because you've been talking about this for a long time, and you know a shit ton of crazy people, and you are one of the more knowledgeable people that I know about a host of fucking shit. And so I think you're gonna be able to. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But I love you. It's fun.
Much love.
You're one of my best friends.
Yeah,
and
dog. Pound it.
Always.
You guys definitely know how to bring out attractive women. That's a fact. Let's just say it. You do.
Yeah, the
boys are good-looking boys and studs that they bring out the good-looking girls in any town they're in.
Every woman is beautiful in their own way.